Hi guys, it's Guillermo from Mosto Catering here in Toronto, and in honor of Peruvian Coffee Week, we wanted to share a quick recipe with you guys using some Peruvian coffee. In this case, we're going to incorporate coffee into the dulce de leche, or the manjar blanco as we call it, which is going to be piped inside the cookies. I've ordered myself some Peruvian coffee from a great distributor called Planet Bean Coffee. They're located in Guelph. This coffee is grown by a cooperative called Café Femenino, and it's a cooperative that is specifically run and worked on by women. For this particular recipe, you don't want anything that's too bitter. You want something that's like well balanced and rounded that'll complement the dulce de leche. So we're going to start off by grinding some of these coffee beans and making some coffee. It's not only going to rise to the top, it's also going to be sticking to the bottom a little bit. So make sure that you're scraping it really well with your spoon all over the base of the pan. So gonna throw this into a 350 degree oven that's been preheated, and we're gonna cook it about 15 to 20 minutes. While the cookies are baking, we are going to put our coffee manjar blanco into a piping bag. I'm gonna roll up the sleeves. In order to facilitate this, we're gonna use a measuring cup or a glass to help the bag stay in place. This manjar blanco is already at room temperature, and we want to keep it that way. So definitely do not put this in the fridge. All right, so we're gonna grab our cookies and flip them over so that they're nice and flat. This recipe will yield enough for approximately 12 cookies. We're just gonna do a few of them right now. Want to leave a little bit of space on the outside so when we press down with the other cookie, there's room for it to come down. So now we'll put the tops, and traditionally alfajores are rolled in coconut, but I feel like today, because of the coffee, we are going to roll them in pecans. So you have your alfajores, you want to squish it very gently.